Examples of using character variable type. So if you want to store individual characters, you can use character data type, initialize it to, this is actually with single quotes, a character literal, which we discussed a little bit earlier already. And you see that with letter 1 right here, increments also work. And because in the encoding of characters, all characters are positioned sequentially. If you increment character C, you get character D, and then E, and then so forth. If you keep incrementing, you can cycle through all character encodings if you'd like. Okay, so this is these are the actual encodings of character C is internally encoded as decimal 67, and D is 68, but we compute D as by incrementing character C, because we already have a variable that stores this value. Remember, character is just an integer that stores the encoding of a printable character or some other character which not necessarily is printable, right? But you can do some computation with characters as well. At least you can compare them. That is important. Assignment examples, of course, we use the assignment operator, and here just some simple expressions showing just normal arithmetic. But there's also arithmetic assignments, which combine assignment with these arithmetic operators that we discussed earlier, and here's the equivalent of that. So whenever you see an arithmetic sign to the left of the assignment statement, what happens is that it gets evaluated as this plus this, and the result is stored back in here. Okay, so it's very simple, right? It's always just this side and this side. And what is the operation? The operation is plus, minus, whatever, and the result is stored right back in this variable, sort of like the variable is modified in place, but its original value is participating in this arithmetic. So very, very straightforward, and this is a preferred version. Whenever you use this type of arithmetic, you should be encouraged to use arithmetic assignments as opposed to these longer versions of the same assignments, like count plus 1 equals count. So this would be just like not so good, because whenever you can make your code more expressive, shorter, but doing the same thing, that I think is a good direction. Okay, so this is encouraged. Don't be you know, too nervous to use these. These are good choices. Again, the way to become comfortable with everything is to keep practicing. So you can just take these examples, copy and paste them in your own source file, compile, make changes, see if your expectations are correct, learn from your experience, and move on to other topics. Conditional operator, also called arithmetic if. So it's sometimes is a useful type of thing to have. I'll show you very quickly a use of it. So you see this if statement here we have that says result, if result is 0 after whatever math we already done, we decide that this is an even number. Otherwise, we decide that this is an odd number. So let me rewrite this. I'll preserve this version just for the comparison reasons. Just copy and paste. And I'll rewrite it slightly differently. It'll be exactly the same, but just a little different. This time I will take the system output statement, okay, and I'll just start with this output. And I say, okay, first thing that I print is this count. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to print this count. Oops. Just say count, print this count. Then plus. And there, instead of using an if statement, what I can do is, like, I'll use the parentheses right here and just this form right here, and I'll say if result is 0, like we did in our if statement, question mark. In fact, I'll probably just keep this question mark inside these parentheses. Question mark, and then I will use even, because that was the result. And then colon, this is all just syntax, and here I will print odd. Okay, so now I have this, and then I'll just get rid of this. Okay, so this is what is happening. We print counter, then we concatenate it with a string, but there are two strings that we'd like to choose, even and odd. And see, I'm checking this result to be 0. And if this condition is true, it will choose the first thing. And by the way, the second part is short-circuited and never evaluated. But if this condition is false, then it'll skip this and proceed to evaluate this thing. Okay, and of course it will return odd. So let's run this just to make sure that nothing changed and that everything works as expected. So let's go back to this 8, and you see that it continues to work just fine. So 8 is even, 7 is odd, and so forth. It just prints this line of report for us. Okay, so yeah, so this is called conditional operator, and also the second name for it is arithmetic if. You might use it in different situations, but one warning that I'd like to show you is that both of these expressions that we use for, you know, false and true outcome of this condition check must agree on types. In other words, if instead of odd I decided to print some kind of number like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, so this will not stand. In fact, let's check the compile, what kind of error message we get. Clean and build, and scroll to the top, carefully scroll down, and this is the first error message, and says bad operand types for binary operator plus. So it's a little confusing. It's not very straightforward, but I tell you, this is the reason why it's like the compiler is confused about the fact that one thing is a string and another one is a number. But what about this plus? Is it supposed to concatenate with a string or add two integers? So it's really tells us no, there is no way I can reasonably do this. I cannot just like be so decisive for you to say, oh, let's add two integers, or let's concatenate this value with the string even. So this doesn't work. So that's a kind of like, it's not really a limitation of this conditional operator, but really a limitation of an expression itself, where we're trying to, you know, so I just switch back to things that agree between each other. So now there's no confusion about this plus sign. In both cases, it's the same idea. Take the value of the counter and concatenate it with another string, this or that.